And okay, and I am recording this on my computer. I do want everybody here to know this recording will be available to anybody who possibly wants it. Okay, it really does me no good afterwards. I get the information I want, and then it's for a memento. Now, well, who we have here is we have David and his wife Joyce. My name is Veronica Singleton. We have their daughter Renee. We have Don Weatherspoon, Gregory Weatherspoon, and is your last name Weatherspoon too? Camry Weatherspoon. And we're going to do an interview on Uncle David and Aunt Joyce. The questions I've pre-submitted, and they were so that you could kind of pop your mind. I understand you answered all of them already. You answered all the questions?
Yes.
Did you write them all out? Oh no, this was supposed to get you to talk. So
I wanted him to have.
yes, right. And that's kind of why we put the questions out there ahead of time. I do have a cold, so I do forgive myself for the way I am. But it is not COVID. Okay, but I am kind of coughing a bit, so I apologize for any of that. The questions that I put down, I submitted, and they do have answers over there. They can read off of them or what, but pretty much what I want you to do is just tell me stories. And I've got questions. I know I heard that this is a favorite pastime of yours, so this is going to be fun. Yeah. So the stories that you got.
Don't forget the name.
If you don't forget the name, okay. The stories that I want to hear are about family members, because you might say something that will spark something, and I'll make a note, and I will kind of like, oh, and ask you further questions on it. So I'm going to start out with the one question, the ones here, and I picked Lee Mormon, because I knew Don was going to be here and his brother Gregory. So what was your first impression of Lee when you first met him?
I really don't.
Okay, then Joe.
Marmon was a total 100% city boy.
Uh-huh.
I do not know when my sister and him met or where, no. But he would come up, I don't know, wanted to be a farmer. The appendix all his life. Anyhow, he'd come up there with them long-toed shoes and spats on and come out the barn. We were milking, and we had a cow named Longlegs. When we turned her out of the stanchion, and Marmon, get out of the way, because she was bound to step on his shoe and turn. Anyhow, I have to say this about Marmon. Like I just said, he's 100% city, but he wanted to be a farmer for some reason or other. And somebody tore the pages out when it come to farming. He was not a farmer nor a mechanic. He wasn't. I don't know what happened. Can't tell you why he wanted to be a farmer. But he totally didn't know nothing about it.
So, you know what? I'm a little curious here, because Don's told me a few stories about being a farm boy, and he learned from his dad. So are you saying Don isn't much of a farmer either?
In the early years.
Okay,
In
so
the
you
early
helped
years.
teach. Did you help teach Lee?
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Okay. Sometime when they first got married, they lived on a farm, kind of across from our farm, home farm. And anyhow, I would go over and help him with the granaries and all that. But he bought a tractor, and I think it was a 3-cylinder Ford. I don't know. And he moved over by Paradise Lake. There's a field across from the house. Owned our granted, I don't know. They're plowing, and he'd go one way and come back the other, and all he had was humps in the field. I don't know where he got the idea. He went over and he said, David, you start it. But he needed a caterpillar, he didn't need it. He had to feel ruined. I have no camera pictures of it, but you'd have to throw it together. That makes a hum.
He learned after that.
I don't know how long that lasted. I told Dad, I said, ain't no way in the world you can plant nothing in it because it's all hum.
Okay, I'm a city girl. I know that you can't plant anything in that.
Well, say you a city girl.
I
Did
am.
you ever go out in the country?
You know what? I go to Alpena and I absolutely love it. I love.
You ever
the
have any
farming.
idea how they plant the crops?
No, I just watch. No, I'm too old to learn now. Yeah. Yeah. So, but if my brother-in-law would plant hay and all of that, he'd come in talking about it and I'd be fascinated, listening to it. But he was more what you would call a gentleman farmer. He planted hay for the horses. They had horses and that was it.
Well, there's one thing about farming. Crops is one thing, but a lot of people had milk cows and pigs and chickens and all that in the farm. Well, if you're a farmer, there's 365, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no
Has to be.
vacation days and
Nope.
nowhere.
Nope. It's every day. Yeah.
720. Anyhow, we had 35 cows milked by hand. We never had a milk. Well, Marmon, he wanted to learn how to milk. And I don't think she's ever milked. I don't think none of the kids might.
Sometimes I
Some odd kids. I think I had 4 cows to milk. Dad had 7. We had anyhow. I had this long leg cow that I'm talking about, step-on woman. She would give a 10-foot hill twice a day.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a very big udder.
Yeah.
Anyhow, what I'm saying is that you heard me say that he wanted somehow or another, Norman wanted to be a farmer. I don't know where he was from. I don't know how his upcoming because he was South Bend boy. And at that time we didn't go to South Bend, only to Robertson, Pennies and all that down there. My mother never drove. She won. And I was like ever since I was 13 years old.
Okay.
Because the man at the end of the street run cast office, his name was Brooks. He was a judge, he was sheriff, and I don't know what all he wasn't. And one day, my dad worked at Round Oak. He didn't retire until 1936. And, last Christmas, he worked mother got a new Round Oak stove. I don't remember when the heat stove come in, but anyhow, some of it is, I was born in Georgia,
Why not? If you're
I was
born
a
there,
baby.
and then you moved.
I was born in 1930, and Dad bought the farm in 1930. But
Okay.
he didn't retire until 36. So now I'm 5 years old, 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I had a job to do.
Oh, I get that.
When you were a baby and she moved there, she would by herself and she was nursing David and she would strap David to her body,
Mm-hmm.
carry him around. At the house. And if you had pictures of the house, it had to be with pure love. Because I don't think a woman now would tell you, but no way in Jose.
No way.
It was such a bad house. But that shows what love will do. Love will show you that you can.
And very much so. Usually with larger families, anything, everybody had a job to do. So you had your job and then you would graduate to a higher up job when one of the older ones would move off.
Well, you have to understand that households have rules,
Oh, yeah,
and you can't disobey them
that's fair.
because there's a punishment to it. Now, kids disobey them and go on about their business, I guess. Not my kind.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying. So I have a question here for you that's not on the list. as I was saying, you start out with the small chores and then you graduate to the bigger chores. You know, you probably had to help mom bring in the laundry or pull it off the line or whatnot. What was your favorite thing that you graduated to doing? Milking the cows, driving the tractor? What was one of the most favorite things you did?
Well, I guess maybe got the tractor in 1936. 1935, Amish people bought it to Dad. We come home from church one day, and three guys were standing down there petting his coat. His coat had a dot and a star in the middle of his head. We come home, and they was out there petting his coat. And Dad didn't know who they were. You know, got out of the car and walked down to him. Three different times they came back. Every time it was in the spring. May or June, somewhere. I'd be farmers up there. Farmers already growing, so they had close to June. So now, tractor, but I do know they bought the tractor, plow, and cut. A horse trailer and another one, and they left there with the.
Oh, wow. So you did made out well on it. Yeah,
That they wanted. I don't know about the dealing.
yeah,
I'm only 5, 6 years old.
yeah, but you know, all of a sudden you now have a
Yeah.
tractor and you're
All of
riding
a
this
sudden
one
we got-
boat.
And parents didn't involve their children in
No.
personal business as they do now. Children know
And
what
that was personal.
My folks talked a lot of pig Latin.
I bet they did. And how long did it take you to learn that pig Latin?
I don't know exactly how old I was, but one day I learned every day was David. I began to get the meanings of the syllables, but
Mhm.
that takes time.
Yeah.
That part of the history I can't follow you.
Yeah. I would talk on the phone to her mom, and my grandma was Romanian. Okay. And you knew the minute mom started talking Romanian, they were talking about you. They were talking about the kids, and we weren't supposed to know what she was telling us. So the Pig Latin, this is nothing different than everybody in the world does, it looks like. So Pig Latin is one way to do it. Yeah. So what was your favorite thing to drive? What was your favorite chore? You're telling me you got this tractor. Did you enjoy doing that more? What
I
was your-
didn't have a choice. I had a job to do.
I know, but what one did you like job wise? I mean, I hated ironing, but I didn't mind the dusting. So I was thrilled to death when I graduated.
I never
dusting.
cooked a meal in my life, and I had nothing to do with the house.
Okay,
I remember even doing dishes.
all right.
I
So
love
that was
those
girls'
outdoors.
work. Yeah,
And like I said, the farming is didn't have a choice. You had a time to do it.
yeah, yeah. That's very true.
You have time planting corn. You have time to harvest it. And we threshed. We had our own thresh machine at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I drove the tractor, moved it. I was 8 years old when I got to drive the first steam engine.
Imagine being 8 and driving. Okay, go ahead.
It's a great big smoking deal. I can
Uh-huh.
take a picture. Anyhow, his brothers owned this place. Always into something, you know. Anyhow, I forget how far it was between the farms that I was moving it to. But this thing you had to keep in the middle of the road because side of the road is sink in. All gravel roads back in them days or whatever. Told me a box so I could stand up and steer it. Great big steering wheel.
Bigger than you, I'm sure.
Well, I got to move it by myself.
Yeah.
Couldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole.
Now, how did you, it's a good thing it didn't, a gas pedal and a steering. How'd you manage that?
All that lever,
Levers.
no
see?
pedal. Well, they had a brake pedal. I'll take that back. Most of it done by a touch lever. And I had a gauge on the thing that could make how fast it goes.
So that became your chore?
Well, nothing I couldn't do.
Okay.
I'll put it together.
Yeah,
Anything out there, I learn to run or whatever.
yeah.
To this day, I still have the tree tractor.
Hmm. Is it running?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Son, but not until after I bury him. As long as everything stays in where I can see it, as long as I'm alive.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You
Very
have to crank it. You still have to crank it.
I don't crank it anymore, I pull it. I don't, I used to be able to crank it with either hand.
Take a tractor to pull the tractor to start it.
It's a bullet.
The tractor has a name, too.
Huh?
What did you name your tractor?
Brutus. I don't know, my dad named it, I don't know where he got the name.
What was it? Do you remember?
Brutus.
Brutus? Okay.
And there's Willow, we went to Willow Pond School, so Brutus is spelled one way on one side and another way on the other. And he said that's how they did it at Willow Pond School.
Now that's cute.
Anything that was different was learned at Willow Pond School.
Willow Pond School.
In
Yeah.
fact, our daughter, I hate the word daughter-in-law, but anyway, she thought that was just joking. And one day they drove down from mom and dad's old farm and found the Willow Pond School. And she said, there is really a
Real one. It's cool. So,
No, you have to give, one. Because at different times you go up front to the teacher,
mhm.
and as the classes move up to the front, see what's going on with the kids, blackboard. My sister, if I'm not mistaken, his mother got 10 cents on Friday night to clean the blackboard and mop the floor.
Okay,
Now, we are 5 miles from the school. And now their bikes. And that's all I know about it. I'm the second from the bottom.
now I was just looking here to kind of put you like, okay, where is he? You got Ruth there. And then, okay. So, and Paul's right above you. So there were two boys together there. Who's your favorite sibling?
Who's my favorite?
Sibling.
I wasn't allowed to have one.
Oh, come on. We know you had one, right?
No, we was taught to share.
To share everything.
I'll tell you, my mother for birthday, with cake or whatever. Cut it, but you didn't get the first. How to cut it perfectly, or you gotta be last.
Yes, and you're gonna get the last piece. You don't want it to be the
If you
smallest
cut a
one,
big
do
piece,
you?
you wasn't gonna do it.
Yep. We were not allowed to have favorite siblings either. And on our birthdays, we got to pick our cake and pick our meal. We got to pick what we got to eat for dinner that day. So, what was one of your favorite things to eat?
My favorite one?
Meals back when you were younger.
Oh, boy. I ate beans an awful lot.
I didn't say what you ate. I said your
His
favorite.
favorite, David, is beans.
Oh, and it is
Beans.
beans.
Any kind of beans, baked beans, soup beans, red beans.
He
black
likes the beans.
He likes.
Okay.
beans. You can't go wrong with reserved beans.
But my birthday, my mother asked me what time I got a 5-pound sack of raisins. Well, listen to this. Live to be 100 years old, so what
That's why your elders and all those.
I've always heard you eat a pack of dirt before you die.
Yeah,
I'm
That's
pretty
fair.
sure if you put 2 in it now, you
yeah. Fair. Yeah, it helps keep things going.
are you talking about favorites? My oldest brother, they were rumble season. Take us to the outdoor show. I don't know where you ever.
Not that kind, but I do know drive.
Outdoor
Yeah.
movies on the
But
building.
when Iron's Corner and Tubby Store, which are two biggest ones, we went. Had a truck, the film might break 2 or 3 times a night, you know.
That's called intermission.
That's how they came up with intermission.
But they always had an intermission, so we. going by.
Tell me something about Doris.
Haru,
Doris,
she's 16 years old and I don't know much about her. She's gone.
okay,
She didn't live in the home.
that makes sense. And you don't know as much about them. Okay,
I know her husband run a garage.
I ran a garage.
And
Her first husband.
I was sick. He come and got me one day, and I don't remember all of this, but I heard later on in life, over in Brownsville someplace, we went to see about a car or something. Turned the corner and I fell out the door and in a patch of sandburrs. And they couldn't take me home because they picked the sandburrs up.
They did take you home, but they got majority of the sand frozen in the floor. Probably didn't, probably toilets did at that time too. Didn't have probably any locks on them.
No, no. Lester, no.
It comes in who Lester's brother was, Noel Sanders.
I have Doris was married to an Ike and a Lester.
Yes,
Just those two?
yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, can you tell me some of the names of your aunts and uncles? This is something you probably researched and can do already.
What do you
Okay, your aunts and uncles that you could remember,
Yeah,
Only 2 on my dad's side.
that you
Then my mother didn't have, he had 3 brothers.
and they were.
Uncle Phil and Leonard. Right. She was the only girl. She's older.
That's what I got. Okay, so that means there, I didn't miss anybody. See that there's reasons for some of those questions. It might seem serious simple for you, but when I'm working with census, there's a 10-year gap. Okay, so sometimes you lose somebody. Somebody can be born and die and yeah, it's gone. So do you know if your mom had any births that the babies didn't
Which
live?
one are we talking about? These aunts or what?
know. Your mother had 6 children. Mom said she had 2 miscarriages.
She had two?
She told me she had 2
Well,
miscarriages.
there's 7 years
Miscarriages, that's
between
what-
No
Paul.
life,
No life.
Just the 6 children.
Okay. So, and on your dad's side, I have the Lester, Cleo, Leonard, and Lulu. I have,
No, that's mom's side.
that's mom's side. Who's dad's side?
Dad had a brother, George. He
George.
doesn't remember, and he remembered Aunt Mabel, Aunt Bell.
I think my dad had 4 sisters. Aunt Mabel and Aunt Bell would come. Stay maybe 2 or 3 weeks with us in the summertime. And then I've never been able to figure out what the deal was. But my uncle Ad stuttered. And
Which one did?
Uncle Addison.
anyhow, they come out on the Greyhound bus. And Union was 4 miles south of us. And Midge about 4 miles south.
Okay.
So now, I can tell you this. Their stutters so bad because in Sturgis before they got the bus stop.
Hey, your father, your parents sent you.
They sent me down to pick them
To
up and
pick them
supposed to
up.
come in at 1 o'clock. Bus, I seen the bus go on through, didn't even stop. Back to the house. Dad said, "Where's?" I said, I think they went by and they just stopped. Well, we didn't have telephone. Kids got no media. So now the next bus stop was something like 6. Back down there, and they got off that time. But I never figured out why my hell never got up and took the bus down.
because Uncle Addison stuttered
I
so.
could never figure that out. Bad stuff,
Why
bad, it
she
took him miles to anything.
Why
And maybe-
wouldn't she? Yeah.
And maybe this is not, you know, that the wife speaks up, because their father did not think much of me because I have always had a voice.
Yeah.
And
And you
when,
spoke up.
yes, and one time we were there after going out to eat, and Norman said something about how much electricity the microwave took to run, and I stood up and said, if David Steele ever complained about how much it took to run it, it'd go out the back door. I'm to say, and everybody got quiet.
Right down, didn't you?
I told you I had to go along with it, because I never told you. My brother next to me, he's going to be a school. Just two of us at home. One day he went out there and got about a handful of strawberries and put bacon sauce. Oh, we got a tub of bacon. He told me to eat.
The
Seen
strawberries.
the story about porridge going out the door. That's what it was with them strawberries. But he was cook ahead. We never had refrigeration. Something like that. But I don't know when we got our first refrigerator. Take the cover off, the pail, put the string down, put it down, put it spoon.
Yes, and then you pull it up. Yeah. So you kept it cold. Yeah. So did you remember the first refrigerator? Ice
Mine.
box?
I remember my sister had a GE with a unit on top. Okay. When I got to be 19 years old, 18, 19, I tried to work in healthcare. My first check, I went to Cass and I bought my mother a stove and
Gas.
and a gas and a tanker. I think I paid $110.
Just a fortune.
As a delivery.
Was she tickled pink?
Before that, but before that, it was cook stove that Dad had. I'll tell you, that's one of my. Yeah. And on Saturdays, she done all the baking and cooking on Saturday, because she never cooked on Sunday. Now, if I let that wood box, if she run out of wood, I got a stick on it.
Mhm. You'd fill that wood box up quick, wouldn't you?
Now I gotta carry this wood, I don't care what the weather is, I gotta.
Did you have to do it daily? Was it big enough to do it where you could have a
Only-
couple of days worth?
I mean, mother worked 3 days on Cass. I don't remember. Gladys went here, and Gladys husband went to war. Gladys was. Didn't cook and all that. Now, if you didn't like it, you get up next meal, you get hungry. Sooner or later, you're gonna eat something.
That's what I keep telling my son, because my grandchild's a really picky eater. I said, just keep feeding him the
That's
same
right.
thing meal after meal. Eventually he'll eat it.
That's right.
And then he won't keep pulling this crap. So I think I'm growing up with the same, like standards you were there,
Right?
because it sounds pretty right to me.
You understand the choices wasn't that great.
Right. And you didn't waste food.
No,
Okay.
no,
And if
that's
she
one
bothered
thing.
to cook it,
Okay.
then you bothered to eat
If
it.
you was going to fix your plate, you can fix what you want. You put them up. But if you left something, you couldn't go back. And if you didn't, like I said, I get sooner or later, you get hungry enough to eat anything.
We didn't get to fix our own plate. Our plate was given to us with, so if there was something we didn't like, we couldn't just take a little bit. We got, yeah. So, yeah. You
Now-
were lucky you got to
Now,
fix
if
your
you-
own
If
things.
you didn't eat it, you couldn't go back.
No, you couldn't go back until your plate was clean. You couldn't get up from my table until your plate was. Clean. So I can relate to that.
That waste wasn't in the catalog.
And we didn't have dessert every day either.
No.
No, that was special.
I think my dad had a sweet tooth. Not like that. Mom maybe, well, like to be there on the refrigerator or something. She might get cookies or something. She washed on Monday, ironed on Tuesday. Thursday, come home Friday. She's got to cook all day Saturday. And when thrashing time come, we had thrashing for 2 days. Always there for 2 days. And that was something that you couldn't keep them people away from my parents.
Need to churn it. I understand it took a while, but you had a cow that put out a lot of milk.
Now just hang on a minute. You used to have to crank it by hand.
I know.
2.5 gallons for
So how long?
up 20 minutes, 30.
Oh.
When it starts getting stiff, you gotta find somebody big on it so they keep it from running off.
When the handle got
I
hard
can't
to
tell
turn,
you, I can't tell you what year it was. My brother jacked up a whole mouth leg, tied body twine to the crank.
This is what we brought. Okay.
When the string broke, we tried to eat
This stuck to you. And it was cold and hot. I mean, hard, right?
Now, we stopped down at Tuffy store, which is about 3 miles from it. And it did 100 pounds. £95. Storage of it was stored it. Winter times, all winter. That was sawdust,
Yeah, I was gonna say sawdust. You kept sawdust.
layers of it.
Yeah, layers of the sawdust. And then my curiosity on that is I always assumed after I had read that, you just rinse the sawdust off before you use the ice. So not only dirt did you get in your belly, but you got sawdust down there too.
Well, if you didn't get it off, it went down.
Yeah, it went down. You're right. You didn't wash it off. You rough it. Rough it. Like I said, it helped things go through, you know? What do you think are in those fiber pills?
I was constipated all the time.
I bet you were not. But we're not going to interview that part of it, okay?
Outdoor wrestling.
Yes, I hear you. Okay, so you said you couldn't have a favorite brother or sister, so you couldn't have a favorite uncle or aunt either, could you?
Like
Was
I
there one
said,
that you liked better?
I've never looked at a favorite. About that because I wasn't allowed to have favorites, I guess.
I think because they lived in the country, sister didn't interact with the brothers because they were city guys.
Very true.
As David got older, Uncle Cleo would come to visit. And when Uncle Cleo was taken ill at work, he told his wife, only David can go get me. As adults, not as children, I don't believe.
Okay.
I remember having to wait to see them as
Yeah.
a child,
Yeah.
but I don't remember him ever saying anything about this cultivation of it.
Yeah. It's a little different environment.
I probably couldn't spell it, so I didn't know what you
But I did want to say, when David was talking about Mormon, he said, young and dumb, he couldn't understand why he would keep bringing that car or airplane. It was low, muddy roads, and
Not that
David
far off the ground.
would have to
Not
force
fun.
to pull him out of the mud.
And that clay and mud down there where we live, I don't know when they're mad at it, nothing.
They met at a,
And I said, he didn't understand what boys and girls do to one another, so now.
party. I don't know where the church was located, but in the records I was reading, it said.
But this thing would get stuck every time he comes in the spring of the year, and I'd have to go find a horse. And a horse named Billy. And I'd go find Billy and put a harness on and go pull him out of the mud.
And you
I
wondered
kept
why
tell-
he came down every
I
time.
kept telling my dad, was telling him to stay home.
You found out later why he didn't stay home.
Yeah, 'cause somebody was
You don't
attracted.
understand that when you're young, but.
Anybody
wanted
wanted
Didn't
to
start the tractor, no. Go get the horse.
Go get the horse, Lee's coming, huh?
I couldn't stand him on the weekend.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay,
But like I said, if you don't know what a Hudson is, it's a big car. But it was so low. Man, yeah, he gets stuck in one of them ruts and I ain't like him with him.
Oh,
no, they do grow on you. It takes a while sometimes.
But he would. I'm just sliding this one said, the first 6-foot set I ever seen, I don't know where he got it from, but he was a tall boy. And but we slide down one hill, walk up the hill, right down the next. We had bicycles, no change, and all that good stuff.
down.
Push it uphill and ride down.
Mhm. Push it up, go down, down. Make your way. Mhm. How did you get to school in the winter?
Oh,
Did you?
mom and help me,
Well, how did I thought it was about 5 miles?
no,
That's
no.
what you used to tell us.
Oh, it's common sense, 5 miles.
Okay, I heard you say something about 5 miles, and in the winter time, how did you get to school?
I had a cooker,
Pressure cooker.
pressure cooker, had about 10 different things on top of it. And you fill that thing up, it stayed warm. For my in the winter time.
So then, was it every, mom every day took care of the hot lunch, a different mom every day? Or a hot lunch was just for you?
No, it would be for the school. 'cause
That's
the
what I'm
pressure-
thinking, it's for the school, the
cooker
pressure,
was
I
a
immediately.
large pressure cooker,
So
but
then a different parent
Karen evidently did.
would
I
do
don't know.
Monday, somebody else
I didn't
Tuesday,
think they
Yeah,
asked me.
families took turns.
took turns.
Now you didn't ask what you're gonna eat, you don't, you eat whatever you.
You ate what you got. Yeah, and if you had what, you went hungry and wait till the next meal. So if that's fine in the winter, you're pulling it on a sleigh, in the summer, you're carrying it? Or you're pulling it then too?
In the summertime,
In the summer, how'd you do
Didn't
it?
have, didn't have.
Okay.
school ended probably
Bring
early
your own
May.
lunch or whatever.
School ended in early May because farm boys got out, children got out early because they were needed to work in the field.
Okay, when did you start?
September, we got Labor Day.
So it was a week after Labor Day, yeah. Most everything was already harvested until then.
Now, we're talking about off days for Christmas. I don't remember seeing it. Now, at a bell. Don't be. He's a stick job.
Was the stick job done in front of everybody or did you go out behind?
Way to get to it.
And the teacher disciplined you, was it privately or in front of everyone? Old school, I never had a teacher touch me. So I can't imagine.
Well, you're kind of setting a lesson back then too, you know, like they're gonna see that, okay, he's late, he's going to get the stick. Think about it twice. When you're back, you can make it sound like you're hitting something. And not so much, so. Was there preferential treatment given for girls?
Well, most of it,
Okay,
take a ruler, give you 4 or 5 slaps on your hand. some tomboy. Stuff,
So it wasn't much of a deal, right? So was there preferential treatment given to girls? Or were girls treated pretty
You know,
equally?
I don't believe I ever see one of the girls get it. I don't know why, but I guess boys was into everything. I don't know. Like I know I was. I got a whipping every day. I think. The reason why I didn't.
Far more mischief to get into every day. Because you don't seem like you wouldn't learn things quick.
My dad, I have to say, my dad was a lot like Mormon, I believe. My
City
dad
boy.
He worked in the city. Now, he was born in Chicago. Anyhow, where he learned to run the farm either.
Your dad
So
was
we had a
born in
horse
Chicago.
at that time. Didn't have a tractor. And the first tractor was old Fortune. Oils for the battery, and you crank on that thing all day to get it started. When we got to, well, that was like 50 steps above that thing. But I was going to the fair and I walked today, and they go, take the first round and go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't imagine something like that coming in lifetime.
Yeah.
All you gotta have is enough money.
See how far that's progressed from what you did to what you're seeing in this, in
Can't
some
imagine the
territory.
prices of this stuff. $1.5 million.
Yeah.
We can make a dime out of it.
And you can also do it by hand. Okay, so how is this? I mean, they're saying, well, we can process more land so we can get more done and therefore it pays for itself. All right, but are going to be processing it and farming it for profit. It's not just what you can do.
I'm gonna say something to you. I don't know how long that 48. You go back far enough. Oh, my dad raised sorghum. Sorghum. He take that down. We took it down about 4 or 5 miles from it. Had the juice squeezed out of it. It was a family. And bought his own squeezer and cooker. He made his own syrup. On every day of the
We had to go on to the next. Yeah,
wasn't no off days. There was something going on every
Yeah.
day of life.
they're sitting there watching TV or watching. anything like that.
TV,
Yeah.
radio.
I know it, but look at how enriched his life is. And everything that he's experienced because of it.
Now, my dad has a Grand Ole Opry. Saturday night, he would be that far away from radio. He liked Minnie Pearl.
Did he?
But on Thanksgiving Day, we'd be out hustling for him, and we always wanted to watch the Notre Dame Michigan game or whatever. They put the radio in the wagon. So you get a stalk or a ear upside your head. No. Like I rules to follow.
And I agree with you so far that the younger generation.
And that's where I
is so
raised
much
my
better.
kids. We got to.
I think parents now want to be friends. And you can be friends. Different.
You want to be
And
like,
that's why there are so many problems.
Yeah.
I know at the time children didn't like me. I didn't care because I didn't like my parents until my brain developed.
yeah,
But then I was so thankful that they stuck to their guns and were parents.
yeah. Yeah, it's a different, it's completely different.
No, every kid that comes through a certain personality, might be the same parent, but they develop a certain.
And it's
they do.
amazing to watch that
Now,
develop.
that's something you have to look back on because, she was when she got to be 12, not 10, 12 years old, I don't know how old she was. When the song come out, through the grapevine,
Heard it through
I
the
heard
grapevine.
she had,
Martin.
she mother bought, I bought her a record player. My mother wouldn't buy it. She wouldn't buy the kids' toy. Anyhow,
Now let's back up. We had a choice of that age. Did you want a bike? And Renee said she did not want a bike. She wanted a record player. That's how that came about.
I'm sitting there one day and she come bring it out there. Your dad wants what record player quit. He's got too many grapevines in it.
I left her to the song, did you?
Well, that rubber band had run this mess on the inside of it. I tore
Put it back together. Did he?
See, I was the disciplinarian. He was the fun guy.
Mhm.
But we never had a problem because once
It was
we
done.
talked about it and it was over with. We didn't have to worry about it. It was never,
Mhm.
we didn't
It
have
was
any
done. You
problems
paid your dues, you're done.
because he would say, Dad, let's do so and so, and go ask your mom if she's got any money.
Well, I have not wrote 3 checks in my whole life. Even more. Married, we sat down and talked one another. Everything. You can go buy stuff and put it on tab.
Yeah.
Always been dead against the credit card. When I was on the road, I had 2 of them, but I never used them. It never happened to people because
It's true.
But he was against credit cards, but I got my own credit card. My name. In his
Established
name,
credit.
it was in his name, but it was mine.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get things.
Yeah.
So now I have my credit cards because at one time, if something happened to your husband, you had to.
now we use
There's no
credit card
credit
all
in your
the time.
name. You're
We pay it off when the bill comes. But now
Separate-
we use a credit card. I never thought I'd have a credit card like we do now. But one year we was going on vacation and I stopped at the bank, I where I was coming from to get the traveler's check. And the woman told me I had to order them. Before I even got them, never even signed for them. Yeah, anyhow, I come home and told her, I said, oh, what's going on? The woman said we had to order them. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I ain't gonna do that. Vacation on my credit card. I'm out there, I don't know what city I was. Both sides of a credit card. I can't pump gas for looking at all these credit cards. He's standing there, oh, which one he's gonna use. I'm like,
Oh, no, which one was working?
Which one wasn't maxed out?
Yes, which one was that?
Okay, Idaho and New Jersey is the only 2 states that you can't touch the phone. Things that guys need to do. But you can pump them in gas. New Jersey hasn't done it yet. Ask them out to New Jersey, the people in pumping it. Stand there with a Sinclair station and putting gas in. Sign up on that. We no longer serve credit card, travel check. That's one was the deal to the counterfeit.
Mhm.
But now they started counterfeiting everything.
Yeah,
I don't know who you can trust anymore when it comes.
and now you're using credit cards for everything and they're using it for stuff. Yeah. I have found, I started using credit cards after when my husband started getting sick. I knew I needed to make sure I had credit in my name. Okay, so we always made sure that I'm gonna use my card, I'm gonna use my card, and he was always, yeah, okay, because we know he was next. So I get the credit card up, so I got into the habit of using the credit card for a lot, and I pay it off every month. Every month that balance is paid, because I don't want to, I'm kind of like you on that. But now I'm finding that the credit card, when you go to use a credit card, the companies are charging you 2 to 5% for you to use your card.
To the people, not you, but to the people.
No,
that
to
take-
me, I'm
I
charged
don't have that.
2% on my
Oh,
bill.
I refuse to pay anything on.
So
the
you're
bill.
paying more now. Because if you're paying $5 for something, let's go 10, because I'm not a mathematician. Okay, and I have to pay 2%. So this is not just $10 anymore, it's $10 plus 2%. Okay, to use my credit card. So now we're going to a society where we can't use traveler's checks. Okay, because they get forfeited, but they're charging the companies are charging you if you use your charge card.
So
I haven't experienced
they
that.
got
Oh, you
20
will. It's coming all over.
And that's sad, because if you don't have a credit card, you haven't built up any.
Okay,
And
when
you
you-
don't have credit,
Yeah,
then
then
how do you?
when the bill comes, you got price up here and one down here. Now, if you link that price up at 28%,
No, it's $35 if you
Whatever.
pay it late,
no. So now,
no matter what the balance is.
Yeah.
I take care of all of that, so.
Okay.
my children have to take care of it. so.
David, I want you to tell me a story about one of your most ridiculous things you remember you did growing up.
Yeah, that's the one you just did. Yeah, tell that one.
Okay, something you did that you're sitting there shaking your head at now, saying, I can't believe I did that.
About you and your brother.
Which brother?
Paul,
Okay,
tell the story, David, tell the story,
somebody else, so,
tell the story.
Tell the
David.
story, Dan.
It could be something more, because you were curious, tell the story. What happened?
now, I will say, I'm not gonna force you to say anything, because we are recording this, okay? And but it is family, and family loves you. And telling a story like this just makes you more real to somebody later on.
And Paul.
40
did-
years from now, David, your great grandchild could be looking at this, and he wants to know something about his grandpa. He wants to know his grandpa, his great great grandfather was real. Okay, and how do you make somebody real? You tell on yourself. Okay,
Tell us-
tell me one or two.
tell it. That's the worst one to do.
Carmen and Fred and.
You're just making
Nothing
yourself.
bad.
I won't force you. I swear to
The
God,
kids-
none of this should
The
be.
kids will laugh because they know you. They won't think anything bad. Just tell what you told Renee,
we was out in the field.
me and Paul.
I got this tractor with there's a plow, rubber and stuff, had to be big enough to reach it, adjust it. Anyhow. I drove the tractor and he run the plow or vice versa. One day we was out there and what was doing, what we all in the field and everything else. Yeah, the tractor didn't have a muffler on it, and he's standing up there and he's gonna kill the tractor, so he's beating in the muffler. And I pulled the swallow, and all this soot there, he
It's great. Pee and soot. Oh, God, he can't whoop you. Tell him the story.
Yeah, I can see your hesitation.
Oh, that's noise.
It's amazing you're still alive.
Well, Paul couldn't catch him.
I guess not. You go run to mom. Oh. Let me hear
Now-
another.
when it come to, we had a dispute. So, that way we didn't hurt. You know, there's so much stuff went on when we was kids, I can't tell you. But We was a family. And dad taught me to be, I didn't know what a father was when I got married to her. I can't tell you anything about it. And like I said, there's another thing in life. Your eyes see and somebody else don't see it.
Mhm.
You don't know. Okay, my oldest son gone. And I don't know about them shoes you gotta put on. Yeah, I'm the only one left in the family. I think they got an aunt still living. That is still living? No. Mom lived to be 90.
94. 94.
94.
94. You haven't caught up with it yet.
I turned 93 this year.
Good for you. Your family is very much long living. I have I kind of chart things out left and right. Look at things different ways. And I'm looking at steel and steel. And I'm seeing there's a few early deaths, but I'm seeing like 90 years old and your longevity is definitely there.
We always live in steel.
Who are now.
Stuart, you are the oldest Stuart. Wait, Carolyn,
I don't have any
Age
steel
is the
older
next
than
one.
90.
no,
Lived older than 90.
no, nobody in your family lived to be, no,
You
Doris.
are the
Doris.
oldest.
Your sister Doris.
92.
Okay.
She did. She hadn't had her birthday. She died 2008, she was born 1915, but she died in April and her birthday wasn't until September.
Okay.
If you had been, she would have been 90.
Whatever.
We would have been 93 if he did. I got two more months ago. November.
So she actually died at 92. Remember how old Alvin was when he died?
1918 and he died 1989.
And
Yeah.
you're saying 1918. And then you just said Doris was 1915.
Yes.
Okay. This is something of census if you have to watch. Okay. What happens is because you're putting a census year, census is usually done between April and September, October. But the census taker will say to you, how old are you right today? I estimated for both Doris being 16 when they're saying she's 15, and I had 19 when Alvin was 8. Okay, and you can only work that off the census because I don't have a birth month to say. Okay, so your census years are always a year. Keep that in mind. Okay, you always kind of play a year. Like I had the wrong years here. They're able to confirm for me now. Now, when I go to look for any type of record, I'm going to pull 1915 because now it's fact. Okay, instead of pulling 15, 14, 15, 16, because you have to pull a 3-year rate because you don't know where it falls. Okay, so thank you. See, that is information I didn't have. So then I have Gladys as being in 1921. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Was 1929.
July
28.
1st. I had a
For July 5th.
Right, no bells.
Yeah. And then 1928. David, were you 31, 1931 or 30?
Mhm.
One of these are- And then Ruth, I have 1936. Was she 30? Was she 36?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then she must have been born in the beginning, first 3 or 4 months of the year. And see, and that's the way you work it too. You think if that year is right, then now you've narrowed it down, being born from January, February, March, April, May. That's when one of her months. Okay, so all of that you take into content. Do you remember what year your mom was?
My. 26, I'm not mistaken.
No, May the 8th, 18.
1889. I'm sorry, Dad was born 1895.
Okay. I like that because I had 94. And 89 was your dad.
1889.
Yeah, okay. And May 8th. I know I was looking at something the other day and I had 2 dates, a January and a May for Lulu. And it was like,
She
no-
died in January.
and somebody messed it up online and they mixed the 2. And I'm thinking, okay, so that's where you take anything you find online. It's not fact until you can prove it. Okay, so somebody out there put it in wrong. And you question all of that. So, well, you told me one ridiculous thing. Is there another one that was like vying to come out too and you couldn't decide which one? Like you have another one you want to share?
You have another one you're gonna share. What about-
Ridiculous.
What's ridiculous? What about when the guy thought
Okay,
you could beat up your brother?
okay, when they bought this truck, the guy, I don't know which one was it. At that time, I could whip my brother. He gave us a quarter, walked 3 miles to one way to go spend it. At that time, we get a second candidate.
For a quarter, yeah.
But they went together. He whipped his brother. But
And
they
then the
went
2 of
to-
them went and
but they
spent
went
the
together.
quarter.
Not
Now we
standing
walk.
together.
We didn't have-
Bad anymore either.
It's a good thing you walked with all that sugar and candy.
They burned.
We didn't care about no sugar diabetes.
Hmm,
Back, you don't even know we knew what it was.
Uncle David, did you have a nickname?
That's what I know.
No.
I don't know nicknames for any.
I was just gonna ask that next, if any of them had a nickname.
Alvin, Bryant, Doris,
No.
Bell.
Elizabeth.
Doris
Ruth
Bell.
Elizabeth.
Doris Bell.
I
Yeah,
have,
that's Alma.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the kids that way.
okay.
Do you recall any nicknames of? any of
I'm
the
seeing on
grandparents?
the Weatherspoon side that 2 nicknames do come up. In fact, they come up even on like a census area, which they're a pretty well-known nickname. One of them I've run across is this and that. Clarence was known as this and that Weatherspoon. Which Clarence you're saying? Okay,
You know,
does that sound familiar to you? Clarence, he was born in the same, close to when your dad was, 1896. He died in 1913. So you might not have heard this, but Charles William was known as this and that, Weatherspoon. Well, technically he was a Mays, this and that Mays. So does it sound familiar? Okay. If I come across some of these and it's like, that's why that's one of the
Because that
reasons
was
why I
13
asked.
the year your father was born, correct? So this person died the year your father was born.
Mhm.
That's, I can read that, because that's a 13 for your dad, 14 for my mom, and 15 for Doris. So that's, don't ask me next year if I, but that's how I can keep things going, is relating to a different verse.
it's a shame, but I know very little about my dad's side of the family. I only know 2 sisters. I think we had 4. I never seen him. I'm always kids might have been, but I didn't. I didn't know Helen's mother, dad. I didn't know, Nathan. I knew Nathan's dad, mother. Oh, I didn't know nothing about this.
So many times when you're the last of the births, you didn't know the older
Yeah,
relatives because by the time Dave was born, you were in college, correct?
yeah.
Yeah. 22 years ago.
Because I think he
Now,
asked one time. what
All
were
my
you?
dad's parents and sisters are all buried in Riverside. All
Riverside
my
where?
mother's side is buried in Chain Lake.
Okay, wait. let me
All the
write
girls
this
Go
down.
ahead, David,
Okay, all your dad's side,
that we know of, and we, some of the plots.
is
in
at Riverside
In the water.
in DeWitt. Okay, and then Prospect, you said was your, what was Chain Link? Chain Link. No,
Yes.
I am finding quite a bit in the cemeteries. I don't think I have that. No. It's an easy way of looking up and finding family members. You find one. I have to say that your family is really outstanding. Somebody is very good at keeping obits and stuff in and updated, which makes my job or anybody researching a tree very
My
easy.
sister, older sister in the front room had a tree with her.
Oh, really? Which sister,
I don't
Doris?
know what happened. to it.
Yes.
So you don't know who got that? Okay. Did you ever hear of or see, now this would be on your dad's side, this newspaper article? Okay, I have this. And I'm thinking that Sharon put this together. They set up housekeeping in Dowagiac, Michigan, to which 4 children were born. And this would be for George, okay? We have the free papers for William Jenkins. Did you ever know about the free papers for William Jenkins? Which would be
No,
your dad's
I
side?
only know one.
About who?
That's on your mother's side.
This
You're
is
talking
in
about your
Lansing.
dad's side.
Crawford's is in
This
Lansing?
big papers in Lansing. Spring.
Where in Lansing?
That's, I don't know where. Library or
No,
something.
Littleberry, Crawford?
Uncle
I
Bill
don't
or
know.
Uncle
I don't,
Cross,
I
free
don't try to
papers.
come to benefit, you know.
What were they, were they in the library
You
of
live to be
Congress or
100.
something?
No, there
Or
wasn't-
Lansing, in
wasn't-
Lansing?
It's Brown. He came in from Australia and it's in Lynchburg, Virginia, where and Doris had that little brown bag.
Mhm.
And
And I actually was able to locate a newspaper article for it.
Now, we can't find any papers with any slavery in the family.
And that is correct.
That's why I said, I'm
Because-
not African American, I'm an American. 'cause my
This
family
article
did
right
not-
here
Yeah,
talks
my
about
family
William
did not come from
Jenkins.
Africa.
Now, William Jenkins would be your grandfather. Okay,
But you didn't know, you never mentioned that.
but you didn't know
Dad's
this.
father.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He,
I was 9 years old when grandma died.
okay,
She was 90 years old, 3 months and 15 days. I could still see the clock on her casket. She wanted to live to be 90. She made 3 months and 15 days.
I'm not finding any, on this line, any slave in there. This is free papers. Anybody who's a descendant of him would be still considered a free. Okay, and that's one of the things that I keep pulling from. Okay,
This is about Lou, which is.
this is Jenkins. That's not you.
Now, that's what I'm saying.
But Fred is his dad.
Yeah, but I said that's the bad side of the family.
Yeah,
Because I knew all, after 72 years, you get to know.
Yeah,
all
you
of
get
them,
to know.
but all of them didn't know.
Now, my older sister, my brother might know something.
Yeah.
okay, I'll ask her.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chain link.
We'll have a seance at Chain Link,
She's
okay?
on doomsday.
That's where I was born and raised there.
No, you're
Yes,
born in
seance,
the water.
Chain Link,
I was
yes.
born and brought there, raised in Chain.
Yeah. So Chain Link is like right next
Aunt Lou
door.
lived in Battle Creek.
There used to be a fence down, used to be a fence. Put up there. Yes, and on the south side was a stir. I know it was 17, but some. Used to have to cut that away. My cross would come by and he'd bug it. He never leave the car. I go with the side,
Mhm.
hand side, get it. Trees and stuff.
I can remember you seeing one of those.
I still
And
have
the
one to go.
spray, you do?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And stay there until I'm gone. I'm gonna-
And then your
I
son will
still
get it.
have it.
Yeah. Does your son know all this stuff that he's gonna get?
Yes, and his wife texted him
My,
stuff we can do.
I still- I
And
still
they don't
have-
want to do it.
I still have two
We don't want
wheels hanging up.
None of us want.
We used to have to cut wood cutting day for the church. If you saw the tree down and you saw the blocks off. Now, now we gotta cut a truck off, or it wouldn't be built. Oh, I see. And somebody said, so somebody ain't pulling it right, they ain't singing.
Yeah.
Now you get a stick of brush or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just that old name.
I'm just saying, the jobs that you had to do them.
And you had to do them right and well. No. Did I look at that?
Wasn't with hands about it. That's where it
The
went.
problem that I have with this newspaper article is I have spent extensive hours in trying to trace what paper this was in. Okay,
so she lived in Battle Creek. I don't know.
that doesn't mean that newspaper
Mhm.
article was in Battle Creek though. But I'm gonna make a note of that because I checked
She lived in
Cleveland,
Ohio.
because this says that she lived at 9803 Kempton, Cleveland.
Yeah, but when I remember them, they were living in Battle Creek in later years. Aunt Lou and her daughter, what was his daughter's name, Lucille? And her two brothers,
Them two brothers,
they would know the rest about the history than I
two
do.
big boys.
What was your grandmother's, do you know what your grandmother Emma's?
Emma, is that Jenkins, Miranda Jenkins?
Yeah, but what was, William Jenkins married Emma,
Mhm.
and what was Emma's maiden name? Never heard them say.
What you steal from me?
William Jenkins being the father of Emma.
Okay.
Her mother's name was Jane. Okay, now we have a little bit of a question on what Jane's last name was. It was either Swan, SWAN, or Lewis. Okay,
That's further back than okay.
this is this William. Okay, his wife's name was either Jane, Swan, or Lewis. They had a child named Emma Verenda Jenkins.
And that was Fred's mother.
Emma was Fred's mother.
I
Emma
didn't- I never
Verenda
knew- I
Jenkins.
didn't meet her. We didn't talk about grandma.
So, and she was married to a George P. Steele, which is William's father. William is the father of George P. So this goes back to 1814. Yet this here only goes back to 1849 because I can't prove enough to put it on paper to give to somebody.
Mhm.
I am 90% sure William and Jane are the parents of George. Okay, especially since I got this. why would your family have this
Mhm,
if they weren't related?
mhm,
But I can't prove it.
mhm.
So until I prove it, your line only goes to George.
I think when we
That
first
is-
got married, they
yeah,
were
yes.
living in a.
Okay, so you could say,
After we were
yeah,
married, it
I
was
do
living
have a
in
line
big-
further back, another 40 years, because this is 1814. But until I can actually do something more conclusive than a newspaper article, anybody could have wrote, it doesn't go there. Okay, you have to be sure you're back.
Cause I know I have seen
I've never seen
records and
that.
I knew
No.
that they were, the information that was given was wrong.
Yes.
And it's hard to go back and get that changed.
You know what, Joyce? It's impossible. I have a cousin that knew my mom. Okay, she was a niece of my mom. So obviously my mom was older.
Mhm.
My mom was around and my dad's name was Vincent. And this cousin has made my mom married to another man,
Okay.
and it's on the internet.
Mhm.
Okay, and I've done everything in my power to get that taken off. My mom was never married to anybody else but Vincent. But because people take information and they don't verify, this is if you learn anything at all, you have to verify it more than one source. Or don't put it out there. And as these books that I'm gonna be passing out, all of them are telling you, please do not put this information on the internet. It is not completely verified yet.
Where's this stuff kept at, man?
What type of stuff?
The stuff you got to,
This piece of cake to pull together. This is all pulled online off of
where's it kept at
Ancestry.
here?
It's online, in the internet. Now, I made books. Okay, so I could show you because you're saying you don't know these people. So I'm gonna come around to you for a minute. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about your family that you don't know. Let me know if I get too confusing for you.
You can tell me anything, but I don't know.
This is true. All right, I'm gonna start with going backwards. You know who Doris is? Doris is your sister.
Hmm.
Okay, I have a sheet on Alvin.
Mhm.
Doris had no children.
Mhm.
Alvin had a Vivian, a Richard, a William, and a Lorraine.
And you're missing 10
And 10 more?
kids.
See, census, they disappear in between census. I don't know. I didn't know he had 12
Where,
kids.
where did you stop here at?
Alvin right here. Now,
No, how about
census,
kids? Where'd you stop?
Lorraine.
Lorraine is my most recent in 53. So I go from 41, 51, 52, 53. Okay, and that is pulled from
The
census.
older
Oh,
children,
it was married. Vivian was the oldest.
the older children,
We're gone.
no, the older children aren't in there, like,
Right.
George, Alma, and Lois.
Oh, you know some names?
So.
This
No,
is Alvin's kid?
yes, they are.
George.
Well, the first child was Vivian.
Vivian.
Okay.
And the next one was Alma.
Alma,
The next one is George, who goes by
Two.
Dan.
3, George, Dan. Okay,
Dan
Agua.
Aqua.
AQUA.
okay.
And then it's Ann,
ANN.
E, on the end,
Okay, that's
Lois.
4. Lois is 5.
Richard,
Richard. Oh, I got a Richard.
Okay.
He's 6.
Brent,
Grant.
Brent,
Brent.
BRENT.
I don't know if he's around.
7. Nope, I don't have him.
William,
I have William. 8. Stephen. Ellen.
Ellen's the other.
And Lorraine.
Oh, dear.
And there's I got Lois.
Mhm.
10. There's 4 gone. Okay, that gives me something to work with. Truthfully, I don't like live people. I like working with
You
them.
can, you have.
The information doesn't change.
But you know, when you look at David's mother, they had 2 birthdays for mom.
Right.
I don't know which one was correct.
Maybe that's why I'm coming up with two. Let me go there when we get there. Let's remember that.
1995.
Then we have Paul, who only had one child.
No.
How many did Paul have?
Okay, Paul had Robert,
I got Robert.
Roger,
Okay.
Fred, and Carmen. That's the wrong, it was Carmen and Fred or what?
Yeah, the order doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Okay. I got Gladys, which I got all of those children. David. I don't have your children listed.
Wow. Okay.
Ready?
There's David,
David.
Fred,
I don't go by that.
but
Don't
that's
call me
what it
that.
would be in your records, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm looking for you,
Mhm.
but this way I'll know when I look at census.
Two E's, R-E.
How old are you?
And I'll be, well, right now, I'm 66. I'll
Okay.
be
You
77
won't be
this
in,
month.
the only, I won't be able to find her because 1950 is the most recent census available. Who's after Max? Dawn. Cynthin.
And Gail, G-A-L.
Oh, okay. Don't have much on Ruth. I know she was married to a Crowley.
That's the last one.
That's the last one.
Oh, she had more than one.
Both of them.
you
Fred
have it on this thing here.
Anderson.
Two different husbands.
Brad off.
It's the first husband.
You do have
I
that
do
here.
have it here.
You married Owen, then
Anderson.
and this is Crawley.
Okay, yeah, I have Owen first. Yeah, okay. And then, so that's the most recent. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back. Okay, that's people you know. Now I'm gonna come back. This is children. I'm gonna talk about Fred and Lulu. Okay, so this is Fred. Fred is your dad.
Yes.
Okay, I have the children listed here. All right, this is a worksheet I pull up, okay? And I did have some of those kids listed. Okay, this is showing your dad in the 1900 census. He's showing as a Frederick Bell.
Fred, not Frederick.
Well, here, whoever answered the census
Mhm.
has them down as the whole family coming in as George, Emma, Minnie,
Mhm.
George, Emma Bell, Helen Bell, Mabel Bell, Frederick Bell.
Okay, maybe,
And they're all listed
Okay.
son and daughter.
maybe they did them as maiden, middle names for all of them. Okay.
Yeah, but whoever said it to the census said the word Bell, or that's what the census worker heard. Okay, and that was in 1900. At that time, Frederick was 11 years old. Okay, he lived in Chicago, on Dearborn Street. He was listed as black, a male, a son. He was single. They listed his father as George. So now I know who Frederick's dad is. This is how we find out.
When you
Okay,
say Frederick, you lose me because it's Fred.
Fred. Okay, I will say Fred. I will try to. Okay, Fred's dad, George, was also born in Ohio. So this says, okay, now I need to stay in Ohio when I'm looking for them. Emma is his mother, who was born in Michigan. All right, well, that gives me Michigan to look at. Okay, Fred went to school. Okay, he can read, he can write, and he can speak English. Okay, so that was 1900. Then we go to 1910.
See, that's me. not on that.
Okay, and in 1910, he's 24 years old. And there's just his brother George living there, along with his mom and dad, George and Emma. He's a farm laborer. Okay, he's still able to read and write. He is not out of work. Okay, and now he's what? Now, how do you say this one? Okay,
Okay.
Pokagon.
Okay.
Okay,
You go.
so now they're going in Pokagon. Okay, he's not just black now. He's actually listed as mulatto. Okay, you guys change constantly. Okay. This is Fred's marriage license record, not the actual license. I did pull there. Okay. The register that lists it, but this is where we need those magnifying glasses and the light to read it. But this is stating that he was 23 when he was married. and he married Lulu. Brian, okay?
Did we give it, when they were married, like, I think it was September the 12th?
September 11th, 1912,
Okay.
okay? This is in 1920, Fred and Lulu have Doris and Elvin. Alvin is a year old. Okay, Fred is 30. He is black, male, head, married to Lulu. He is a farmer. He has a general farm. Okay, he owns his home, but it is mortgage. Okay, so we learn a little bit more about him in that regard. All right, then we go into 1930, and we now know Fred is 40 years old. He's married. He has a radio.
Okay.
In 1930, they wanted to know if they had radios. He lived on a farm. He was 24 when he first married. He is not in school, obviously, at that time. He's able to read. Now, Fred, for some reason, is saying that his dad was born in Georgia, not Ohio. Okay, so again, whoever gave this information to the census taker supplied it. So I have to look at Georgia and I have to look at Ohio. Okay,
I've never heard of Georgia.
yeah, me either. Okay, he worked in a stove factory. Okay, Paul is listed here now. Paul is 1 year old in 1930. In 1940,
I understand, because by the time the census was taken, he hadn't had his birthday yet. But in 1930, 1930, he would have been 2.
now this is David is listed here as 9 years old. Okay, so he's now showing on the 1940 census. All right, so we have Fred with Lulu, Gladys, Paul, David, Ruth, and Dory. Dory Saunders is 24 years old.
See that?
Aunt Doris. This is Doris. And this tells me she was married. Okay. So now I'm looking for Dory Saunders when I go to. How would I know that without the census? Again, now we're living in Cass. Okay.
You wonder who gave her name as Dory.
That's a fact.
I know why now. My mother used to let me.
This
do the
is Dad's World War II draft registration card. Okay. He's listed after World War II. When he registered, he was 53 years old. He was born on January 20th, 1889. And he lists a Mrs. Isaac Wilson as the person to be contacted.
That's Doris.
Okay. And there's his signature. Okay. This here is your dad's registration card for World War One. Wow. This is out of order. Typically I have one in front of two. At this time, it's Fred. He's 28 years old. His birth date, his natural born in Dowagak. He's a farmer, self-employed in Cass County. He has a wife. He's married. He's of African descent. Okay. And then he's got this. Now over here, it says that he was short, medium build, body build. Okay. Color of eyes, brown. Color of hair, black. What's that? Bald. It gets, the print is so bad sometimes. Bald is no. Okay. Okay. And then that's his, and let me change that order right now because I'm kind of like that. One should be before two. And then we bump to the 1950 census, which is the most recent census there is out there for your dad. And he's showing as a 61-year-old with a 56-year-old wife. Okay. And David is living with him still, and Ruth. So that's you. Still living in 1950 at home at the age of 19. Okay, and this lists it. Now we got lucky on some lines. If you fall here, you also get extra information taken out on you. So depending on, now this is his death index. So this is where I can get his social security number. Sad to say. When it was issued, what state issued it, and when he died. This is his burial index saying his mother's name, his spouse's name, his father's name, his death and his age. Okay. This is his find a grave, which everybody is very good at filling that out. Yeah. This is Alvin's death certificate. He died of congestive heart failure, or I can't never say that, heart disease. He had heart disease. Okay. And he died at the age of 71.
His birthday was January, so that's.
Yeah.
what he was.
Okay, so that takes care of Fred. Fred had a sister.
Linda Steele.
Hmm?
I ain't seen something.
Yep,
like
you're
Linda
going
Steele.
to.
Oh, right.
She's next. This is Fred's sister,
Lita. Okay.
Lita. She died at the age of 16 or 17 years old.
Okay.
Who's this?
Your dad's
Dad's
sister.
sister, Lita.
She's born 1879 and she died
In-
at 16 or 17, so that's way before your time.
Yes, she died before you.
You know,
Your dad
I heard
heard of her?
story about some of his family living. I never knew that.
The family did live in Vandalia because that's where she was born. Your dad's family lived there.
I always heard my grandmother come here from Kansas in a wagon train.
David, that's your mom's side of the family.
I never knew this ever. I went from the family was born in Van Dyke.
They weren't there long because she died in Cook County. Unless she married and died at birth, given birth. At that age, she could. I don't have a death certificate, but she died young. 16, 17.
Chicago. You don't want to go there.
Don't want to go there?
No, in Chicago, they don't pause.
They
They're
don't
waiting for you.
allow,
to
they don't
move.
allow no flowers.
Tossing
They
the
don't allow
flowers to
nothing.
the side. It's a factory.
If you got any morning, you better do it before you get there. 'Cause then
Bring it, roll in.
It's crazy. So then your dad had a brother named George. I got some information here on George. But I would prefer keeping with grandparents, okay? So he had a brother, George. He had a
he
sister,
was a
Minnie.
midget.
George was the midget. Yes, and I think Don had told me about him, and I think I had a death certificate. Height was listed short.
Very.
That was, you know, that was a registration card. World War I, listed short. Okay, so we got George there, Minnie was a sister. Okay, Almetta was a sister. But let's now look at the parents of Fred. Because we were looking at Fred's brothers and sisters. Fred's father was George. Fred's mother was Emma. Okay. Emma V. Jenkins.
Is it four
E-E-R-E-N.
sisters?
For George, Almetta, George, Lita, Helen, Mabel. So 1, 2, 3, yes.
Bill. Bill. Somebody else.
Belle for who?
Bill Jenkins.
Fred's sister?
Bill.
Fred's
I knew
sister
Mabel.
Belle.
I knew Mabel and
Yeah.
Bill.
I don't know about the rest of them. This Minnie might be Helen.
Now, this Minnie is Fred's sister. The Minnie I just named off is Fred's sister. Okay, so I'm going beyond Fred's siblings. And I want to talk about Fred's mom and dad, your grandparents. Okay. Good with that? All right, so George was born in Ohio. He's the one that came to Cass. Got married in Cass County.
George was married?
Mhm. His grandfather, George,
Oh,
married.
really? Oh,
yes.
you're talking about
Yeah.
his
His,
father.
we're gonna call him George P. Okay, George P. He was born in 1849, or we can call him George 49. I typically do that a lot too. Like, Littleberry, there's 3 Littleberries. I'll go Littleberry 38, Littleberry, you know. So George 49, he had those children, which we listed. This George midget, see, George W was the midget. Almetta, Minnie, George W was the midget, Emma, Lita, Helen, Mabel, and Frederick.
This is George B. Steele.
And I don't
Mhm.
understand where maybe.
I don't know where Belle is,
And that's,
unless Mabel was Belle, because Maybelle,
Where was he? Here,
who?
maybe.
Mabel was born in 1883. She died in 1960.
And what was Bell, what?
I don't have a Belle. I just have Mabel.
Well,
Mabel could be nickname, could be Belle.
there were
the 2
2
sisters.
sisters. They were Mabel.
Mabel,
and
one
called
was
Belle.
called-
I know that. Those are the
Okay.
only 2 that I.
There's
Mhm.
Almetta, Minnie, Lita, which we know died, Helen, and Mabel. So that's something I'll have to look up. Because and here is that one where they said that they were born. They talk about the papers, and they moved to Zanesville, Ohio. And then Emma, the oldest, was born in Michigan. Her youngest sister, 6 children, was born in a covered wagon, showing they were on the move into Michigan between Battle Creek and Silver Creek, Cass County. A young blacksmith from Ohio, George P. Steele, which is our George 49, okay, was noted in the 1870 Cassopolis census, listed as a blacksmith. He married Emma Jenkins, to which 9 children were born.
What year was he born?
This George was 1849. Okay. Our father, Fred Jenkins, the youngest, the father operated a blacksmith shop in Vandalia, in Dowagiac, moved to Chicago, then back to Dowagiac when his health failed. So that explains, because I wondered why were they here then, and for a while there, I thought it was 2 separate families. But this confirms to me now that what I'm finding in Ohio, in Cleveland,
I
in
don't know much
Chicago,
about this Ohio deal.
Is this looks like David's sister. Doris's writing.
that could be. This is just page 2 too. This is something I found. So George was 21 and living in Cass. At 22, he married Emma Jenkins. Here is the register for that. In 1880, they now have, now this is where I get the kids from, okay? The George and Emma, Almetta, Minnie, George, Emma, Lita.
That Bell be called something besides the
Mini Bell.
something like that.
Minnie Bell, yeah.
I only knew her that Bell.
That's what we get with the nickname.
Those are just the directories showing that they live there. Because that's where I was like, how can he be there? When I'm finding, why did he move back and forth? But this is telling me.
I sure would like where he was born in Vandalia.
Ones were born in Vandalia?
No, I'm talking about Vandalia ain't very big. They used to have
Well,
one.
maybe there wasn't any street names at that time.
Okay.
I know
Here's
that.
George. This is your grandfather's death certificate. Okay. He died, he was born May 31st, 1849. He died April 9th, 1913 of heart disease.
Arterial sclerosis.
Thank you. Okay. It lists his father, George. His mother is unknown because F.W. Taylor at this time did not know the name of the mother. That's why this is considered secondary source. Okay, because that person might not know that information. Now, here's where I really worked this one. I was like, not sure about this one at all. Because they're saying George was born in Mississippi now. They are giving me the blacksmith. Okay, so I'm good with that, but not listed here. I'm comparing kids left and right on here. They show an Almeda was married in Chicago in 1849. The 1890 veteran schedule shows that he's from the right place. The problem that we have is in 1890, we lost all census. Okay, so we're going from 1880 to 1900. We're losing 20 years of people. Okay, because you can't
The
track
records
them
got burned or something.
correctly. So that is your grandfather. Now, I believe I have your great grandfather right here. And his name was William Joyce. And he was born in 1814 in Lynchburg, Virginia. Do you know anything at all? Does it
No.
ring a bell?
No.
Okay.
That's my. I do my dad's thing. Because
Hurt.
his family, okay. And she called, but do you know it took 6 hours to go from where we lived to Chicago? One
Sure
way?
does, but, yeah. There's that Henry Brown. You said something about a Henry Brown.
You know, I can remember, I can remember when we go to see grandma.
It would take you that long.
Okay, there was, at that time, it was stoplight everywhere. Not on the highway, it was built.
Right.
And it took us 6 hours to go to Chicago, stay 2 hours, and come home, so we had milk cows.
Mhm.
45 miles an hour was speed back in them days.
Yeah, it was. It was going fast.
Aunt Lou's.
That's where they got that 40 air conditioning. 40 miles an hour, and four windows down.
Aunt Lou's husband named Henry.
Now it
Is
is
Aunt Lou's
Casey
husband
mostly, not
named
who's
Henry?
this?
Well, my
Yes.
sister,
Yes.
her son is married
She had
to.
two brothers.
a girl
Um,
Aunt Lou
Lawrence.
had two, but had
And
two
she had
boys
lost
and a girl.
Lawrence. I think she dated somehow.
Lucille was
But
the
that-
daughter.
None of these
Don't,
names.
I have not run across that name at all. Mm-mm. Not Halsey or, now if you want to copy those and send them to me, I can look to see if there is a connection.
And she also was telling me that she may be related to my husband on his side of the family,
And your husband's last name was?
Grady, that he was from the Easley family.
Yeah. You don't think they do that. But this is not typically how I would retreat. And I'll be honest, I'm doing, typically I stick with direct lines. I stick with direct lines. I don't go
Are you gonna have a
offshoots.
headache by the end of the day?
Okay,
Okay.
It's really a lot.
My old sister. He had 9 boys, or 9 people, they're all still there. Glad, family,
yeah,
all still here.
they're all still here. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, what I do have, I can prove by census showing that they're listed as a son or daughter. 1850 is when census starts listing names. Okay. They don't list relationships until 1870. Okay, so anybody born before, you assume it's called inferred that this, because they're living in the household and they're this age, they infer that it is a child. So again, that's a limit that, like when I'm working with William great grandpa, okay. Let's see, I'm not so confirmed on that either. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and I got him in here, that's 1814, see, I got one here too. That goes back to 1760, another William that I'm trying to tie in here. Okay, so there'd be Frederick, dad. But he wasn't a Frederick. Fred. Okay, Fred married Lulu. Okay, and then on the Jenkins side, which is Lulu's side, we're going to Emma Jenkins, William Jenkins, and William Jenkins 1760. On Dad's side,
Yeah, Lulu was the Bryant. Fred was the Jenkins.
Fred, right,
Yeah, but you said Lulu.
I'm married to Lulu, but no, it's Fred with his mother being Jenkins. Okay, so the Jenkins name and the Steele name coming into Fred. And then we have Steele being 1849, George 1849, and we have George possibly 1820 or 1814. And now I got this William at this 1814. So when I wrote this out, this should really be William. So this needs to get changed up. So this, I keep this as a running, like, who am I, where am I? Especially because it's not my thing. I don't know these names. I gotta constantly say, wait a minute, you know, whose line am I working? And then Don would call up and I'd tell him something and he'd throw me into another family line. I'm going, wait, Don, wait, I'm not on that line. My brain isn't thinking that line. So it would become a little bit more confusing. So I talked your ear off for 2 hours now. Are you tired?
Are you tired?
No, I'm not tired. If I am, I've been asleep.
Well, that's good to know. I'll get you to sleep. I did have couple more questions. If you're willing.
You're in a different world as far as
I am, because you don't know these people. Yeah,
like I said, my older sister, brother, my
And she has no descendants, so no children, so there's no one to ask
No.
the question.
going back in them days, I do not know much about history. All I know is my grandmother died in Chicago. I understand that they moved back and forth. I do not know nothing about the Ohio deal. I do. Dad had a black miss.
that we found. So that's been confirmed.
Now, years, don't tell me, don't ask me, because I don't
Yeah.
know. That's why, them stories I hear.
Yeah.
Actually, no eyes is not true.
Sure. I'm curious, how was Lorraine's name spelled? That was L-A, capital R-A-I-N-E.
Well, again, that's going to be how the census taker spelled it. The ring was from who?
Alvin.
Alvin. Okay, so Alvin. Minnie.
Lorraine's name.
I did.
And they didn't look at it. What's a different spelling?
I have a capital L-A.
Capital R-A-I-N-E.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
such a different spelling.
and let me see where I pulled that. If they spelled that out for the census. Now, in Alvin's obit, Lorraine.
Well, see, your mother was dead, so.
Yeah, Vivian, Lorraine, Alma, Ann, Lois, Helen. See, they don't list a bell.
Have you got 12 names?
Well, let's count this out. Vivian, Lorraine. You do that. Okay, good. Alma, Ann, Lois, Helen, George, Richard, Bruce, Brent, William, Stephen. I got 12. And then they have 24 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, 2 sisters. And they go Witherspoon with that one.
I understand there's 3 or 4 miscarriages in the
David, there was there's 2 deaths, and I can't remember the names of the children.
Yeah, because
I heard there was 16.
There's 16 kids.
Oh,
16 pregnancies, 2 miscarriages and dead. One was Mary.
Georgia County lady.
And that could have been during why they were traveling between places.
No, we got the home. The
Oh,
homestead.
Down in Jones.
And you'll see- That's excellent, one example.
That was
Yeah,
probably in
and
the
they
early
have a,
50s. It was before I met.
What do you want to call
I knew
it?
of everybody.
Family tree,
Well, it's on a board.
right, it's still a family tree.
If nobody's living, that can go all the way down through these veins. And stuff up there. England's 122 years old. 1801 when it started.
Reunion. I don't know if
It
that's
started in
right.
1901. Yeah. Had a wagon with all the family in it. And so it started with community chapel on the corner of it was actually, we started on the corner of Union Road and Mount Zion.
okay.
That time there was a building there that, I don't. Now, it's about 3 mile walk, ride, but I wanted to do it for 120. I ain't got it done yet. But the people on the wagon is only half of them.
He's talking about the 100th celebration.
Yeah, that's the reason why I want to do it again.
We have it.
I'm not all a historian, but I am.
Pictures of Helen that she should have.
Don't tell me how I got to be a family man, because I had to be like anybody else, first kid, I don't know what they'll do with it.
Yeah, we don't really. None of us do. It's
Well-
all trial and error. It's when you get down to the other ones that you start getting, are you the baby? You're laughing. The only one, oh, you're trial and error. Okay, all right.
But
So
see,
I'm one of the younger ones,
there's no book on what to do when you get married.
no?
But what there should be is a deal before you get married. I think there ought to be a paper that you put down what you like and don't like. And you talk about this before you get married.
When you're in love, you're not.
Instead
thinking
of getting
about what
married
you
and
like.
2
Oh,
weeks later,
yeah, when
you
you're,
can't stand her,
yeah,
that's not a bad deal.
yeah.
Money
When you're,
waste.
yeah.
We
when
got,
you're in
we got
love-
some of that problem in the family.
in love, you think anything will be fine.
I'm the second oldest of my family. And so therefore, having children was, taking care of children was nothing new. I love my brothers and sisters, so having children and taking care of my children, natural.
Yeah. Yeah,
I thought I could do a better job than my mother at times, when I was boss,
because you took more care of
because I
them.
love the care.
Can I take a scan of the document where you answered the questions?
Oh, she's got the other part of it, so. This is.
Sure.
I'm asking questions.
That's one question.
Remember. I don't have address. The last address I have.
I have pictures of Helen's when she lived in Maryland that Elise should have. Elise and Helen's far back. Okay. I don't even know, I don't even know if Elise. That's okay. Hang on to it.
Is there now? What's that? There we go.
When I was taking-
I have so many toys.
Hey, when I was taking typing and I had a hole rubbed in the paper. When I taking typing, and make a copy. I had a hole rubbed in the paper. Right, right.
Yeah, it's just in the room.
I want to take a picture of it and just focus on one thing. Take more than one source.
Do you have any idea of all this stuff you got now? Was it-
I'm sorry. I had kids before technology became very, I mean, I worked at Blue Cross and Blue Shield and started working on a computer, and then I took time off the kids. And then knew I would have to know technology before going back into the work market. So I went and took some classes at college, so that I could be marketable. I hid it to where it piqued my interest. So I love these gadgets. I love to play with them. Okay, so, but I can't imagine being able to do a scan a document.
Okay, when I come along with cameras and all this, mess,
Yeah,
uh,
oh, remember Polaroids when they
boy.
first came out, you got your instant picture.
Yes,
Now
because
that's
you,
back.
if
Yes,
you,
it is.
if you
It's
didn't
come back.
chop off, if you chopped their heads off, you didn't have to wait till you got your
Now we know.
pictures back.
Yes, you didn't know you shot their heads off.
And now they take pictures and send them to one another.
Yes,
you see, a lot of families, he was in Bible, and
yes.
some of them even talk about trees when they were born, but we cut the tree down, ain't got no history.
Wow.
But,
Is this something
I
that
heard
they
it was
would do then?
1912 or something for cats out there. 1812, whatever it was.
There's a picture for all five of the boys. The
Yeah.
boys of the-
I was
David.
I came early because I wanted to look at the local history. And none of the local history is kept in this library. It's kept in the other library. So I didn't get a chance to look. at
Oh,
it.
the old one next door.
Yeah.
Main dragon.
Yeah.
And there's a
So,
lot of history in the courthouse too.
Yeah.
My brother was into genealogy, but he was doing two sides of the family. And I said, you're confusing me because you're doing mamas and dad and. dads."
yes. Yeah. So. Would you like to keep this? Again, I don't have the one generation in there because I can't prove it, so I don't put it on there. At this point, I'm going to end the meeting, so we're not going to record anymore for this.